We just saw a big flash within the crypto markets. It was about $1 billion worth of traders that got liquidated. Of course, the majority of those coming from the long side. And the reason or cause is, of course, worse PPI data than expected, which means that inflation may be a little bit sticky over there. And consequently, the market trying to price that in. As you can see over there, 24-hour liquidations just shy of that $1 billion mark, which is pretty significant. And consequently, if you look at the Banter bubbles charts over here, they're red, right? Of course, red on the daily, but the hourly is attempting to put in a bit of a bounce. So in today's show, we're going to have a look at a little bit more around the timing aspects of the crypto markets so that you don't get shaken out. I'm going to give you some valuable tools and some metrics that you need to be looking at when determining when to exit the market. And these are the exact things that I'm personally looking at in order to determine when I'm going to be exiting the market and when things are truly turning around for the worse. So smash the like button, guys, hit the bell notification and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We are seeing the Google search terms, of course, absolutely skyrocket to new highs over there for the term altcoin, right? So people searching the term altcoin over there, really spiking way above 2017 and definitely significantly higher than 2021. But there's a lot of other metrics that are still lagging, other metrics that have not yet reached these types of thresholds. So the question, I guess, is, is this the calm before the storm? Is this the anticipation before the actual move that's actually going to take place? And are we going to be marking up much, much, much higher? And how do you determine when price is in an overheated territory? Is the market cooked? Is it overheated? Are we needing to correct in a massive way? Have we reached a cycle top? These are the questions that many are being plagued by, and everybody's constantly trying to call for a cycle top. But at least according to my analysis, it's unlikely to occur until you see these few metrics align. And that's what we're going to discuss in today's show. So one of the things that we look at is, of course, you can compare these search terms with altcoins, crypto, Ethereum, meme coins. You can put all of these in yourself on Google Trends, and you can set it over the furthest history that you can, 2004 to present, set it to worldwide, and you can go and make those comparisons. That's one thing that we're looking at. And then the other thing is you can have a look at CoinGlass and the bull market peak signals. And on CoinGlass over here, you're going to find that there's about 30 different signals that forecast when a major top is coming in. But in my personal opinion, there's some metrics over here that are more significant than others, and consequently, I've highlighted those, and I'll share those with you today. And the ones that I'm looking at, you can see on the right-hand side, it shows the progress of how far you are through this bull run. Now, if you're only just arriving, look, you're late. You are late, but luckily, as per the Pareto principle, which is that 80-20 rule, the majority of the gains can be made in the final 20% of the bull run, which means although you're late, you probably can still make money. But unfortunately, for those that are not well enough equipped, you're not going to keep the money. You're going to lose the money unless you sit and you stay till the end of the show and you listen carefully to what I'm sharing with you, and you don't let greed take control. And you start to really listen to these metrics when they are firing off and consider taking profits. And then, of course, if you have no clue about trading, just join Whale School. Very, very, very easy. All the information is provided in terms of how I come to these conclusions in Whale School. Link in the description below. Join Blofer, and once you sign up, you'll see it pops up here with claim your course, and then you can get all the lessons over there for free as well. So the things that I'm looking at, right? Pi cycle top indicator is one of them. Right now, it's about 67% of the way through. Remember, this works off of 2 high time frame moving averages, and we're looking for, if price rallies anywhere near the 350 times 2 simple moving average, which is part of the equation in terms of the Pi cycle top indicator, which means Bitcoin would have to reach pretty much around $180,000. That's going to be one strong signal, and you would expect this metric would start to scream 100% over there in terms of its progress. And right now it's at 67%. And you're going to see a recurring theme when you look at the signals that I focus on. We're about 60 to 70% of the way through this bull run, possibly even 80%, right? And we'll also talk about some potential price targets, although I do believe timing is the most important thing, right? The Puel multiple is another one that I look at over here. Right now, you are at 1.46, so you got another 0.74 to get to 2.2 on the Puel multiple, which puts you at 66.37%. The other one that I look at over here is the MV/RV Z-score, which is currently sitting at 2.72, and if you hit 5 or higher, which you're about halfway through, 54% of the way through, that's going to be a strong signal that you're probably looking to exit. And everything I'm sharing with you over here, you want to line up when you see confluence between all of these factors simultaneously. When they start to peak, between that 90 and 100% region, it should be good enough for you to say, hey, the bulk of the move is done. It's time to take profits and move on, and we'll reallocate either on a greater dip, a greater flush through the market, or at the bottom of the next cycle, and that's where you're going to make the most money, right? The next thing we look at is the Bitcoin dominance, which rallied pretty aggressively right now, sitting at about that 58.59%. Anytime that it hits around 65% or more is usually near the end of the cycle. So that's completed 90.14% of its trajectory. Then we have the NUPL, which is the net unrealized profit or loss. It shows how many traders or market participants on chain are in profits. And as you can see over here, this one is currently 54.91%. Anytime that more than 70% of the participants are in profits over there, that's a strong signal that you probably want to look to take some off of the table, because remember, the market is designed to take away most of the money from most of the people most of the time, which means you probably fall into that most category, which means you have to do what most people are not willing to do, which when these things get overheated, you have to take profits, right? That's one thing you have to do. And then we have the Bitcoin 4-year moving average, which is currently sitting at 2.41. When it gets to 3.5 or higher, you know that you're nearing your end, which is 68.86% of the way through that signal right now. And then the rest, I'm not really too focused on or concerned about. These are some of the main metrics. And again, you can get all of this information completely for free on CoinGlass. If you just go over there, type in CoinGlass on Google, peak signals, and this will pop up. You can just copy the ones that I look at. I might aggregate this into one indicator for you guys to make it very, very, very easy for you. Now, the other metric that is very accurate, and although when it is firing off, we tend to fade it because we are emotional beings, and emotional beings control the market. And that's usually where we think that this time is different, right? It's going to be the terminology that you hear so often. And of course, that is the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. And anytime that the Crypto Fear and Greed Index peaks its head into the 90 to 100 percentile region, which is going to be these upper limits over here, you're very, very, very close to a major cycle top, or even a local top. If it's not a cycle top, a local top. So again, a reminder, you want to line all of these things up. So when you start to see the fear and greed peaking into that 90 to 100 territory, that's where you want to pull these things up and do your checklist. See, hey, how far through? If these are sitting in the 90 to 100% region, similar to the fear and greed, well, you know you're in the final innings, and it's probably time to take some off the table. So we can also see cyclically, you can line that up with the timing. And we know that the cycles are getting longer, so lengthened cycles with diminishing returns. And therefore, how far are we into the current cycles? Well, we are 110 days in. We're following the purple trajectory, which is cycle number 5. And we can see that right around this point in time is where things do start to move up very, very aggressively. So pretty much what you're suggesting over here is that if this is a lengthened cycle and you do actually make it to about day 1,100, anywhere between 1,100 and 1,200 lines up perfectly with those timing zones where you do want to, of course, compare. You want to compare to these things, the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. You want to compare to the bull market peak indicators so that you can sell at the top. Are we there yet? No, we're not. A lot of the gains can occur and are still possibly on the table. Now, there's a lot of value in looking at the RSI. We've spoken about the Relative Strength Index, which quite literally tells you what is the relative strength of the bulls or the bears at a particular point in time and on a particular time frame chart. And what we tend to see is when it hits above 80, that's where the big moves occur, right? Again, hitting home on that Pareto principle. The Pareto principle says that 80% of the gains are made in the final 20%. So there it is, crossing that white line over there, which is the horizontal, but getting lower each time, right? So each cycle, the pumps are getting less significant, but the length of the cycle and the time that it takes to get to those periods is longer and longer, which means from a timing perspective, you know, base case, probably fourth quarter of this year, maybe it pushes into Q1 of 2026 where you're going to find some sort of a cycle top. But the point is, as soon as you cross that line on the monthly scale, when it comes to your relative strength index, you know you're in that final euphoria phase. And that's where you expect to line all of these charts up to look for, confluence. Remember, the confluent factors will be day 1,100 to 1,200, strong signal from a timing perspective, line up all of these highlighted tools that I've looked at, line up the fear and greed index, and it's probably the truth, right? It's probably not a lie. Now, we can measure as well how to find the timing cycle tops and bottoms by looking at the price cycles, since they rhyme so significantly. And what we found is this. What we found is that from top to top is about 49 months, right? And this one over here, top to top, was 46 months. So if we put it in that vicinity, 46 to 49 months gives you a timing cycle top between August and November 2025 as a base case. Now, if the RSI does cross up over here above that 80 mark and it lines up with that timing, you know your time is limited and it's a race against the clock, right? The other thing that we can have a look at is what happened to price action when that RSI crossed above the white line at 80. And what we've seen is this, right? Pretty substantial moves. If we quickly measure that out, of course, diminishing returns, you're not going to get the same types of returns. This was enormous, 8,837% as soon as that RSI crossed, and you rally into a cycle top within a few months. And if we look at the next one over here, measured from the white line, the white vertical line over there is when you cross with that RSI, and from bottom to top, 1,323%. That was in the 2017 cycle. And then we can have a look again. Notice it's getting less and less in terms of a pump, but we can still work with this number, right? That one over there, as soon as the RSI crossed, Bitcoin accelerated another 311%, which is very, very significant. Why is it significant? It's significant because in order to cross that RSI pretty much above the 80 mark, which is where we expect those big moves to occur, and we go with call it a conservative outlook, which is going to be, maybe Bitcoin doesn't do anything close to this. 8,837, of course not. 1,323, of course not. 311, let's halve that and say, well, what if it does 150%? Well, the thing is, Bitcoin would need to rally to probably about 150K just to get that RSI to cross 80. So if you go with that metric and you say 150K and you do even 100% from that point, I mean, these are sizable numbers. You're talking about a $300,000 Bitcoin price. So I'm not calling for a $300,000 Bitcoin price. I've always taken the more cautious approach, the more tamed approach in terms of price targets, because I think it's better to take things as they come, expect less and be grateful if you get a lot more, right? That's the better way to think about things, and that's how you can protect your capital. But if you do start to heat up and you start to approach that day 1,100 to 1,200, all of these metrics are pushing 85.90, fear and greed also pushing 85.90, and you start to tick over into that 90 to 100 across all of these metrics, well, that's going to be very, very valuable, because this is where price can do a double, even though it's such a high denominated asset, right? In terms of the value sitting at 150,000, and a double in price, market cap has to go up by like 2 trillion, which is huge. But crazier things have happened, right? Crazier things have happened. So keep an eye out on that. And we fully expect that before the monthly can cross 80, the weekly RSI needs to break this level, and we need Bitcoin to trade up to about $130,000, $140,000 region. If it can hold within that region off of a bull flag on the high time frame, which is what we currently have, I'm going to show you it in a moment, then this RSI should break that downsloping trend line, and that is where those doubling in short succession can occur, right, in terms of price action. So we are in the party zone. This is the party zone. We highlighted this months and months and months ago, and you are holding up in terms of a bull flag. Yes, this is a big rejective candle, but theoretically on a high time frame, so long as price action just holds sideways and can range between 115,000 and the current highs, let's say 115 and 120, $130,000, that trading range over there would likely set things up to break this RSI through this level. We know we're going to go into a seasonally weak period. So, of course, the bulls need to survive that seasonally weak period, which is going to be probably from now until the end of September. Maybe we get about another week of upside price action in the shorter term. But, leading into September is going to be mostly a seasonally weak period, and we do need to be aware of that. So again, when all of these metrics start to fire off in terms of what I've just told you, 90 to 100 percentile region, 1,100 to 1,200 days in terms of the lengthening cycle RSI above 80, RSI breaking out on the weekly, then what you want to do is you want to come to this chart, and this has been very, very, very reliable as an indicator to determine if the market is cooked and it's over. Because when the metrics are telling you one story, well, ultimately, the only thing that really matters in the end is the price action putting in high highs and high lows. As soon as that breaks, well, that's a strong signal that now the trend is beginning to shift and you've reached that end phase. So as you can see right now, price is above the 21 weekly exponential moving average. Price is also above the stop and reversal indicators, which are trending towards the upside. And you have triple confluence coming in over here with horizontal support as well, which means that even if you do get a deeper flush within the market, price should find support between about $108,000 and $110,000. And it would be, although it would be very scary on high time frames, this is just setting up for more bullish price action and prolonging the cycle length, right, towards that 1,100 to 1,200 days. I do want to remind you, just touching on that again, 2017 was one of the longest cycles that we had, and that cycle lasted 1,067. So as you approach that, then you're pushing the bounds for now what is the longest cycle, right? And again, guys, I do explain this stuff at length if you do jump into Whale School. All of these indicators, I'll show you, I'll put this on your chart. I'll show you how to read it. I'll show you what it's done historically, what your numbers look like if you started with $100 and you just followed this very basic, simple trading system. So, if you haven't already, pause the video because the spots are going to be limited for this particular cohort. Just click the link in the description below that says over here, 𝗏𝗏𝗏. As soon as you sign up to 𝗏𝗏𝗏, claim your sign-up deposit bonus. No KYC required, no personal information other than a name and an email address. And then once you're in, it's going to say this, right? To trade like the 1% and catch the next big move, claim your course. When you click claim your course over here, it's going to bring you through into this page. And this is where you unlock that access. So you unlock access by joining 𝗏𝗏𝗏. It will give you access to all of these lessons. My favorites from the course is going to be risk management, vitally important because most people don't get it. It's one of the most simple things to do, from a practical sense, but emotionally and psychologically, it's one of the most difficult things to do. And I give you strategies in this course for how you can, make life much easier for yourself in terms of risk management and maximize your upside potential over there. So that's one thing. And then, of course, you can just read the titles of everything else that we do cover over there. So moving on, let's say we have a couple more things that we have to look at in terms of major metrics. So some of the other things that we're looking at over here is on the 5-day time frame. We have the 3, the 9, and the 30 moving average over here on the 5-day time frame. And this tells us, is it a trend in motion? As you can see here for Bitcoin, well, it's been respecting this parallel channel, right? You got the low boundary, you got the midline over there, which is bobbed and weaved above and below. And then you got the upper boundary, which is where our first initial rejections occurred in 2024, December, and then again in January. And now we're really applying pressure into that region. So is this a death sentence and is this going to be a local top? Well, according to the trending indicators, which again is the 3, the 9, and the 30, this is actually in an incredibly powerful bullish posture. So what it's telling you is that, yes, although price is pulling back over here, so long as you keep closing back above the yellow, which is above the green, which is above the purple, price action is most likely going to be similar to a ball that you try and push underwater, and you can't hold it there very long. It's most likely going to resolve towards the upside. And until such time as you close below that, we can't really be looking for much deeper corrections towards some of those lower targets that we've outlined, right? So long and strong is the name of the game. I do want to remind you that just 2 days ago, we had the highest ever closing price for Bitcoin and the stock market, NASDAQ, S&P 500, Dow Jones is about to break a massive resistance line. So everything wants to move higher. Now, as per the RSIs on the monthly time frame and the weekly, which we're looking for that breakout. Well, if you do get that weekly breakout on the RSI time frame over there, then you would expect that this, when you leave this parallel channel, could lead to that vertical price action, which I again showed you can lead into that doubling in a very, very short amount of time. And if you do start to move like that, or if price action starts to move like that, I should rather say, that's also a strong indication. Again, look to all of these metrics to see if things are getting overheated, because they probably will be. The other thing that I'll be looking for in terms of when to time my exit from the market is going to be if we look at the funding rate, right? The funding rate you would expect would get more and more heated. What's interesting about this current time in the Bitcoin cycle is, like, from a timing perspective, we're very, very close to the end, but a lot of people are, still trying to call local tops. Now that creates fuel, which could push price a lot higher, because they're not willing to bet on the upside, right? People are still very, very, very cautious, and you can see it in the funding rates. The funding rates over here, you can look at it by the color scheme. If there's an absence of the yellows and oranges, which means the opposite of that is going to be these greens and blues, it means that market participants are very wary and they're not willing to bet on the long side. Well, not with conviction, I should say, not with greed. The greed comes in when you start to, and you can see this based on what people are doing on the exchanges across all of these different coins. This is what occurred back in December. Very, very extreme funding rates. If you look at most of these, they were sitting anywhere from 50% up to 200%, meaning people are willing to pay serious money to hold long positions open. It's like, you're paying to remain long, and you're paying in trading fees or funding rate, because remember, the exchanges every 8 hours reset, and they determine if you're on leverage, right, you have to pay interest. Same way if you go to the bank and you put down $1 million and you say I want 10 million, you're going to pay interest to borrow that other 9 million. You put your $1 million down as collateral, they give you the other 9 million, and you pay interest on that, right? It's the same thing with regards to how the exchanges work, right? The exchanges every 8 hours will determine what the funding rate is, and the funding rate, which is your interest rate, is determined based on where the majority of the market are. If everybody wants to be long, then the funding rates go up a lot. And that is represented over here on this chart with the oranges and the yellows, right? So we're expecting, with all of these other confluent factors, this could be the early warning sign to say that maybe the market participants are going to be coming in full force. Fear and greed in the 90. All of these metrics, 90 to 100%. Timing-wise, 1,100 to 1,200 days. RSI above 80. All of these things should line up simultaneously with the funding rate being orange and yellow, and then that's going to be a good indication that it's probably time to take some profit. So these are the things you're looking at, right? I'm trying to make this video in such a way that it's actually evergreen. I am live, by the way, for those of you that are asking. This is a live video. I can even read your comments. We'll bring some of those up towards the end. But what I want to say is this is an evergreen video, right? So you can watch this over and over again, even in 2 months, 3 months. If you want a reminder, literally just save the video, share it with a couple of friends if they want to see how to determine when to exit in terms of a macro trade, right? A larger trade, a swing trade for the end of the cycle. So we're looking at that. Another metric that we can use is just a different viewpoint is to compare this cycle to the 2021 cycle. Are you looking for those really heated environments? Red probably tells you that the funding rate is so extreme in level 3, and you're probably going to be finding a major top. The alternative of that is the pinks and the purple, which is where we found many of the major bottoms when the market gets scared and flushes. And as you can see over here, we've had very, very seldom periods where we even get into the orange, never mind the red. We haven't seen the market red line at all within the cycle. Again, just showing you that, people are putting their money where their mouth is, and they are not really willing to go leverage long. They're fearful. People are still scared. Another way that you can look at it is on Analyze.net. You can go to Bitcoin open interest. It aggregates it, meaning it looks at all the various different exchanges and it tries to determine, let's just quickly address this. Let's quickly name and shame Bill. Pre-recorded video, boring. Bro, I just read your comment. How can this be pre-recorded? Unreal. Anyways, okay, let's continue on over here. So BTC, when it comes to the funding rate, again, all of the major lows, right? FTX, USDC.D peg, yen, cash carry, trade and wine, Israel-Iran war, all of those printed negative fundings over there. That provided major local lows. Now you're looking for the alternative as well, which is going to be extremely positive funding in order to determine where local tops are going to be. Have a look at that. 2021 cycle top, right? Have we seen anything quite close to that yet? No, of course we haven't, right? Which is why you want to pay attention to where those 2021 highs are and line those up with all of the other metrics over there. So if you reach that 0.1, that shows you that, of course, Bitcoin is very, very, very heated. All right, so guys, again, if you want to learn more, please just jump into Whale School. We elaborate on all of this. We deep dive into each topic. It's vitally important. I will release a video now. Tomorrow's video, let's just quickly go back to that. Tomorrow's video will be pre-recorded, right? I'll be clear on that. I don't know why that's considered a bad thing, right? A pre-recorded video requires a lot of effort. You have to sit there. It's way harder than doing a live show, in my opinion. I'd much rather do live videos, and that's why I do it. Pre-records, I have to sit there and edit, and oh my word, I said something wrong. It's very difficult, right? But tomorrow's video will be pre-recorded, and I'll show you as well how to use some very interesting tools on Blowfin if you want to maximize it. Now, if you do sign up to Blowfin, this is the only exchange you can use to gain your access into Whale School. No KYC required, right? So click that link over there and join. Let's continue on. Now, a couple of other metrics that we want to look at in terms of whether things are heated or not is the historical risk levels. And you can see in terms of color coding, also similar to those percentiles, everything that we looked at over here, it gauges a bunch of different metrics and it will tell you, as per the percentiles, when you're in that 80 to 100% region, and that's where all of the major tops have occurred. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet, right? There's a couple of more interesting ways to look at this. We are actually, in fact, right now, we are only in the 50 to 60% territory, which is why it can baffle the mind when Bitcoin is trading at about 120K. And according to this metric, you're only halfway through, which supports that it's possible that you could double in price. It's unbelievable, right? It is unbelievable, but it's actually possible according to this metric. Now, we have to look at a couple extra things over here. One of my favorites to look at is actually called Total 6. Total 6 excludes call it the 6 top positions on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the stable coins, right? So it gives you a bit of an indication in terms of what is happening with the altcoin sector, which is where we know the true degens come. And we know that the altcoin sector is a very strong metric in determining a cycle top, right? A very strong metric, because this is how risk moves down the curve, right? You go from low risk into medium risk, and then people make more and more money and they become more and more confident, and they're like, well, you know what, I can risk it because I'm gambling with the house's money. That's the mentality, right? People go to a casino, they start off very slow. As they start to make more and more money, they're like, you know what, it's red or black. Like, let's go high risk over here. Let's roll the dice, red or black, and let's run it full pace with all of the profits. And that's where they bet on the altcoin sector. And that's why we can look at this to see when this is heated. And this would be one of the main metrics to determine a major top. So very similar. Every top occurred in the 90 to 100% region in terms of the risk profile. And where are we at right now? Well, we've only been printing 40 to 50 and 50 to 60, right? Look at that, 50 to 60. We're nowhere near those extreme red reads within this part of the cycle. We can actually zoom in over there and see, have we had any point in time? I'm selecting 90 to 100, 80 to 90, 70 to 80, still to 70. We've only had periods of 60 to 70, showing you that there's still a little bit of juice to squeeze from the lemon, which is why it's important. You need to understand how to structure your portfolio. You need to understand the market cycle theory. I've provided those lessons for you, of course, within Crypto School, within the course. The good news is also, by the way, guys, if you do sign up over here, you will get access to all the other schools as well, right? You can join into any of these schools, which is amazing. The next thing we're looking at, if you start to take up the 2021 highs in the daily exchange volume, that is going to be a strong indication that you're nearing a top. Right now, higher highs and potentially a higher low. We've seen the first time since December 2024, this has been downtrending. We now have the chance to flip this into an uptrend. So monitor this chart, right? Monitor this chart over here. If we start to approach that $150 billion region, that's also going to be a strong indication. Look out, right? Bitcoin dominance. Very similar to this chart that we just looked at over here on Total 6. Well, we expect that Bitcoin dominance should be approaching key levels of support in a breakdown, which shows, again, the risk moving down the curve towards lower caps and more greed. And when this is coming into very key support, I guess that's where you want to be careful. Now, we're seeing the etchings and the first signs of a potential breakdown. The areas of interest that I'm personally going to be looking out for is simply just marking out a Fibonacci tool from the exact low to the exact high. We don't have a confirmed top yet until you set in a proper macro or high time frame lower high. But nevertheless, we'll work with what we've got. And what we've got over here is support levels coming into play. So if Bitcoin dominance drops down to 50% level, which is your purple line, or the golden pocket, which is going to be between those two green lines, that's going to be another area where I want to line up all these other things that I've given you to see, where are things at? Are we in extremely heated territories or not? Okay, very, very, very important. YouTube views as well. The YouTube views have been very muted across all of these different channels. These are the main cryptocurrency channels that, provide information on crypto, where especially a lot of the newbies will come. Some of them have fallen off, but for the most part, about 70 to 80% of these channels remain active and continue to create content. And in fact, it just shows the lack of interest. It's been an institutional bid within the market. And we know that, markets also end, market cycles tend to end with, unfortunately, it's just the way that the world works, with retail being sucked in at the end, and they get dumped on. They become the exit liquidity. Now you are retail. I'm also retail. Unless you're trading an institutional fund, you're retail. But we smart retail, right? You get smart retail, and then you get, for lack of any other word, dumb money or dumb retail. Dumb money or dumb retail come at the end, and I'll be the first to tell them that they're dumb when they arrive. When we're getting above 4 million views per day across these channels, that's going to be another signal, right? So those are the things that you're looking at. So, you can see over here, we've marked out in terms of some of the Fibonacci levels line up as well with this pivot level, price moving towards the upside. Around that $5 trillion mark for total cryptocurrency market cap is going to be a significant pivot point. Now, whether this breaks out and goes absolutely parabolic, similar to what we're viewing on Bitcoin, is a story for another day. But I think pay attention to this line as we hit it, right? That's going to be important. Next thing we have to look at is, remember, USDT dominance has found every single major top, right? So every time this hits the yellow line and bounces, we found a local top or even a cycle top. Now, maybe for the first time, we're actually going to break that level. We're currently trading below the yearly open. So I think if this spikes back above the yearly open, that could be troublesome. That's 4.32%. If we can break down properly, you got a lot of support below. But I think that the real magic will happen where all the metrics that we're looking at, which we want to see really redlining in that 90 to 100 percentile region, will occur between this line and this line over here. So trading within this environment, which is between 2.46 and so above 2.46 and below 3.63%. Those are the two levels, right? Those are the two levels that you want to watch out for. When that happens on USDT dominance, which can happen in quick succession. And this is why I'm bringing this to your attention, because a lot of these other metrics might be slower moving because they're based on-chain things and high time frame moving averages. They're slow moving, right? This is quick moving. This would be one of your leading indicators if it tests like that, down into the bottom over here, sell signal, in my opinion, irrespective of what all of the other indicators are showing. I'd still check these for confluence, but irrespective of that, I think it becomes a strong sell signal. So there's many ways that you can de-risk, but still maintain exposure to the market where you can participate on those upsides, right? One of the ways in which you can do that is through grid trading. So we've been scaling into those positions. As you can see, throughout this dip, hardly any of the positions have even gone red. Of the new positions, which begins over here from BTC, right? So let me just move it up a little bit over here. This is on the Pionex grid bots. BTC only down 0.4%. ETH still up 40%. We only opened these trades this week, guys, this week. XRP only down 5%. But the crazy thing is, it's all part of the plan, right? That little move towards the downside, we have left room open to still potentially capitalize on XRP coming all the way down into that block. All those green grids are buy orders, and all the red grids over here are sell orders, right? So you can de-risk like this. This is one of the ways you can de-risk. Let's have a look at the other ones, okay? Solana up 72%, and we just opened these trades. It's up unbelievable, right? Say 65%. Sui is up 28%. Pepe is down 7%. That's nothing, and we still have plenty buy orders below if it goes any lower. Bonk up 1%. Pengu got hit a little bit harder, 43%, but I bet you this hasn't even filled all the orders. Let's have a look. So there it is. Pengu hasn't even filled all the orders, right? We have enough margin in here for this to move all the way down to 0.027, and we then would get our full fill, right? If we look at NEAR, 2% over there, Render 21% down, and I expect fully that in the coming months these are going to absolutely print. If you do want to join, remember you can copy these, right? Just go through the 8x ones. You can see the age. It shows the age over here. You know, these are the latest ones are only, I think I have to refresh this. It shouldn't be 1 day. It's probably about 3 days. Oh, okay. These ones are 1 day. Yes. We open these up afterwards. So the BTC, ETH, XRP, Sol, Say, Sui, Pepe, Bonk, Pengu, those are 2 days old. And then after that, I remember we open NEAR and Render as additional trades. So, you know, the market pulled back a bit. This is a great opportunity for those of you who were maybe, you know, unsure about joining. You know, you have the opportunity, you can join. Now, the link is here to copy all of these, all the bots. Just click that over there and you'll be able to copy. You do need to first sign up. You will not be able to copy unless you use that link, right? It is limited to specifically our Banter followers over here who use that Pionex link if you want to copy those trades. So grid trades are not, I want to be clear as well, the grid trades are not automated, guys. This is not an automated trading system. These levels have been predetermined by me. You're welcome to build your own levels. Now, some people were saying that if they were in the UK, they were struggling to join, right? I did find a workaround for that. I can't guarantee it's going to work for you, but first, VPN. You have to put a VPN on. Second, you probably need to put your mobile device or whatever device you're using on Wi-Fi and turn off the location on, let's say you're on your iPhone or whatever, turn off the location completely so it can't read your IP address. Put on Wi-Fi, put it on a VPN. We are partnered with NordVPN, giving you a 78% discount. It's also linked somewhere here below. There we go at the bottom, or 74% off of a 2-year plan, less than the price of a cappuccino per day. And then set that to a location that is available. You know, my home country, South Africa. You can set it to South Africa, it will work. Also, make sure you are supporting and praying for 𝗕𝗂𝗅 this weekend, right? Fun fact, Kyledoops, my last name is 𝗕𝗂𝗅, but he is not my brother, for those of you wondering. Okay, cool. Let's see. What else, guys? Let me know in the comments if there is anything else that you want to have a look at. Whale room traders are absolutely crushing it. Constant profits over here. Even catching the short trades with Jim. Well done, Jim. Well done, Jim. Crushing it over here. A lot of guys also showing the losses, right? We're all about reality over here. It's not just profit. Some people do lose. Alrighty. Go 𝗪𝗏. Look, 𝗪𝗏 is here in Dubai. I'm from Dubai now. So it's like, what, maintain neutral territory on this fight? I don't know. Cool. All right, guys, all the trades are there. Everything is listed. You got 17 days left to join. Make sure to watch tomorrow's video as well if you haven't already. Links are in the description below. 𝗏𝗏 gets you in. Pionex gets you the grid trades. And that is it from me. Thank you all so much for joining. Appreciate each and every single one of you. And I will see you all on the tomorrow's pre-report.